I know that if you take the test and you pass it, let's say you're taking the JLPT for Japanese or the HKS for Chinese, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're very fluent. Yes, I know, I understand that.
Hello and welcome back to my channel. I think at this point it's just welcome. I only have 12 subscribers, but hopefully that changes pretty soon. In this video, I want to talk about the 3 biggest mistakes that I made as a language learner, and hoping that you don't make these mistakes, and hopefully that motivates you to keep learning or maybe start learning a new language. And also will be sharing my experiences learning English and Japanese. In case you didn't know, which probably you don't, Spanish is my native language, and so I have quite a bit of experience learning languages. The first mistake I made, and I think for me was the biggest one, was worrying about what other people said. This wasn't really about the act of learning a language, more about the way that I sounded when I spoke. I was very self-conscious about my accent for the longest time ever. It took me years. I like to think that I'm somewhat fluent by now, but back when I was in high school, I couldn't speak English even if my life depended on it. And I know I still have an accent, but at this point, I don't really care. And that's where I'm trying to get to. Everyone has an accent. British people have an accent. Australian people have an accent. People from New York have an accent. People from Texas have an accent. Everyone has an accent. Mine just happens to be from someone who speaks Spanish from Mexico. The reason why I think people learn languages is to be able to connect with other people. Maybe a significant other speaks a different language and you're trying to speak with his or her family. And I think as long as you make yourself understood, as long as you get your point across, I think that's good. You're good. That's fluency to me. Who cares if you have an accent? It took me quite some time to learn to embrace my accent because that's who I am, and it's probably never going away. I mean, yes, you can practice and train with accent or language coaches, but I don't see a point of spending that much time and effort trying to perfect something that's not required, that's not necessary. I'd much rather spend that time and effort learning a new language. The truth is, you don't need to have a perfect accent to communicate with other people. Yes, there's rude people everywhere in the world, on the internet, pretty much everywhere. But I don't know, I'm pretty sure that if you, let's say you're learning Korean, even if you speak with a non-native accent and you make mistakes, I'm pretty sure Korean people would just appreciate that you're trying to learn the language, and they'll probably help you. At least they wouldn't care if someone from a non-Spanish speaking country is trying to make an effort to speak the language. And obviously I wouldn't make fun because I know how hard it is to learn a different language, especially if your target language is very different from your native language. Let's say from Spanish to Japanese or English to Arabic. So the key takeaway here is don't worry about your accent. It gets better with practice, but it's also okay if you don't sound like a native speaker. The fact is, you're not a native speaker. You're studying the language as a second, third, or maybe fourth language. Just learn to embrace your accent because that's who you are. That's what defines you. Also, some people like accents, so maybe that's your advantage if you're dating. I don't know. Here's mistake number 2. Not speaking early. If you want to be a good speaker, you need to start speaking. You need to speak. There's different opinions about this. Some people say you should speak from day one. Others say, hey, don't speak right now because you start making bad habits with speaking, which then can be an issue in the long run. Personally, I think you should speak after maybe 3 or 4 months. And this is definitely something I should have done when learning English and Japanese. I lived in Mexico for the first 15 years of my life. Then I moved to the States when I was a sophomore in high school. At this point, I didn't speak English, like I mentioned earlier. The English that got me through high school the first couple of months was the little English that I knew from elementary school in Mexico. It was just a couple hours a week, which wasn't really that much, honestly. Now, I really wish I had more time or more English classes in elementary. Anyway, the city where I live is a border city with Mexico, right? So 99% of the people speak Spanish. So you can easily live without speaking a word of English. And guess what I didn't do for at least 3 years? Yes, I didn't speak a word of English. Yes, I did speak a little bit of English to my couple teachers who didn't speak Spanish, but all my friends spoke Spanish, my counselor spoke Spanish, pretty much all my teachers spoke Spanish, my coaches spoke Spanish because I was in football. Maybe just one or two didn't speak Spanish. And that's when I needed to speak a little bit of English, which, like I said, was awful, was terrible. Then I graduated high school, started my freshman year there, and then I transferred to A&M, Texas A&M. Despite not speaking English, my reading skills, listening skills, and writing skills got a lot better. Guess why? Because I was using those skills. Guess which skill didn't improve at all? Yes, speaking. Why? Because I didn't speak. And I didn't start speaking after 3.5 years when I transferred to A&M. Then I started getting better, little by little. Again, if you want to be good at speaking, if you want to be a good speaker, you need to speak. You need to practice. Here's why. Different languages use different sounds, and different sounds require different muscles. It's just like any other muscle. Let's take Spanish, for example. In Spanish, we really roll the R. For instance, the word carro, carretera, rico, reluciente, rechinante. I don't know, there's many different words. Those are the maybe 5 that came to my head. And this is a very common issue among English speakers. They have trouble rolling the R. And this is something they really need to practice. And the only way to use and train those muscles is actually speaking. This applies to pretty much any language. Arabic has different sounds. Korean, I think, also has different tones. And definitely Japanese has a pitch accent. It's the same thing like when you break a bone. Let's say you broke your first proximal phalange, aka the big toe, training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Yep, that was me. That's my toe. When you break a bone, you're not supposed to walk. You're not supposed to use your foot. When you start walking, you might need maybe physical therapy to gain the mobility. It's the same for the mouth, for the muscles in the mouth. You need to speak so you can little by little train those muscles, and it gets easier. So the key takeaway from this is start speaking maybe after a couple months, maybe 3 or 4 months. You want to have meaningful conversations. If you really like cooking, you might want to learn the words for fridge, I don't know, the vegetables, fruits, knife, I don't know. Just learn words about something you're interested in and start speaking. Those are the meaningful conversations you want to have. So yeah, speak early, kind of. Yeah, that's something I'm going to start doing for the next languages that I learn. And real quick, if you're still here, it's because you're enjoying the video. So don't forget to like the video and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. And last but not least, mistake number 3, not taking a test. Let me explain.
I know that if you take the test and you pass it, let's say you're taking the JLPT for Japanese or the HKS for Chinese, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're gonna be fluent. Yes, I know, I understand that.
But the reason why I should have tried taking the test is because having a deadline kind of forces you to study, to learn the material that's covered in the test. Let's say X number of words, X number of grammar points, or X number of kanji for Japanese. And you have all that knowledge in your head, which then you can use and practice to be fluent in the language. I've been studying Japanese with material from the JLPT N3, which is the middle level. The N5 is the easiest one, the N1 is the hardest one. And it's been taking me very long to go through the books. Why? Because I don't have a deadline. I don't feel a sense of urgency. And yes, I'm still motivated to study almost every day, but still there's no clear objective. There's nothing to work towards to. And just let me tell you a quick story, because I've experienced this from different tests. Like I said earlier, I went to A&M, I got my bachelor's degree in civil engineering and my master's degree in structural engineering. And just like many other professions, we need to take different tests to get our professional license. We have the FE, the PE, and structural engineers have the SE. Anyway, I was in my internship and I wanted to start studying for the test because I wanted to take it in the following fall semester, right? So I started studying, I was motivated, and I just stopped studying. I wanted to enjoy my summer. The semester started and I decided to sign up for the test, and I think it was late August, and I signed up for the test to take it mid-October. So I had roughly like a month and a half to study. And that created the sense of urgency that I really needed because one, I had a deadline, I had something to work towards to, and number two, I spent the money and I didn't want my money to go to waste. And guess what happened? I started studying. I was consistently studying every single day for at least 2 hours, and guess what? I passed the test. That was the FE, by the way, the Fundamentals of Engineering exam, which now, looking back, that's not a really difficult test, honestly, compared to the PE or the ESE that I need to take. Anyway, that's outside the point for the video. But yeah, having a deadline forces you to take action and get serious about whatever you're doing, especially studying. My plan is to sign up for the JLPT N3 in December this year, so hopefully I pass. I also want to make videos about how I study languages, how I study Japanese in particular. I want to make videos on the YouTubers that I watch, the podcasts that I listen to every day, and just the methods and the way that I learn Japanese overall. I really like reading, and I also like reading manga. I have the first, second, and third volume of Black Clover, which is, I think this is my second favorite anime. And I have the first volume of Bleach. This is my favorite anime of all time. It's so good. Well, the point is, I'm planning to make videos just recommending different resources, different books, and just recommending YouTubers, manga series and stuff, so stay tuned. And that's it for the video. Hopefully you found this useful. Hopefully you learned something from my stories, from my experience learning languages, specifically Japanese and English. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one. Bye.